Well, hi, kids. Pastor Al here. Hey, if you've got a dog, you probably noticed something that I've noticed, and that's every now and then dogs do something they're not supposed to, or they get into something they're not supposed to, or they tear up something they shouldn't be tearing up. I know when my Labrador Hezekiah has done something wrong, because if I come home and I open the front door and he's not there to greet me, he has done something wrong. And oddly enough, he knows he's done wrong, and he's hiding because he's ashamed of what he's done. I find that's pretty normal for a lot of dogs. Here's a little video of a guy who came home and found a problem and tried to figure out which one of his 3 dogs did it.
That's what I come home to. Trash has been gone through. It's my fault. I left it, or I left it kind of full. So my question is, who did it? Who's the culprit? We got a couple options. Let's see. We got Gid, and we got Xena. What about Tank? I wonder if Tank had anything to do with it. Tank, do you know about the trash? Do you know anything about the trash, Tank? Because I don't know who could have done something like that. I mean...
Well, then there's his other dog who figures that if he does something wrong and his owner comes home, he'll just play dead.
What is this? Hey. Rivers. What are you doing?
Now, the truth is that we all do something wrong some of the times. And the other truth is that most of the time when we do it, our first reaction is that we want to make sure that nobody knows we did it. We don't want to admit to it. We try to hide, or we try to hide what we've done. This children's sermon is going to be a little bit longer than normal because I found a really, really good book that talks about what happens when you do something wrong and how you should handle it and how you shouldn't handle it, and, well, maybe how God might help us understand something about forgiveness as well. And I found a really, really good video of someone reading that book. It's about a young boy named Arlo, and so I'm going to go ahead and let you watch the story of Arlo here from beginning to end. I think you'll like it.
Arlo and the Great Big Cover-Up by Betsy Childs Howard, illustrated by Samara Hardy. Whoever conceals his transgressions will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. Proverbs 28, verse 13. It happened during quiet rest time. Arlo noticed a scratch on the wall just over his bed. The scratch looked like a mouth. Arlo was not allowed to get off his bed during quiet rest time. But if he kept one foot on his bed and stretched his other leg out, he could reach the markers on his desk. Then Arlo did a very naughty thing. He took the cap off the blue marker. He drew a nose and 2 eyes on the wall. Arlo felt funny. He was not allowed to draw on the walls, not with a pencil, not with a crayon, and above all, not with a marker. Arlo sat on the bed and thought. He took the cap off the brown marker and drew a frame around the face. He thought the frame might make the face look like it belonged on the wall. But Arlo's square was not quite square, and he knew his mom would not be fooled. Arlo thought some more. He grabbed some tissues from the bedside table and started scrubbing. It was no use. The marker did not come off the wall, but it did smear together. Arlo had made a big blue and brown mess. Arlo felt afraid. His mom was not going to be happy with him. He must find a way to cover up the mess on the wall before the end of quiet rest time. He got off the bed. This time he didn't bother to keep one foot on. He dumped out his toy box, picked it up, and put it on the bed. It was no good. He could still see the mess on the wall. He piled up games on top of the box. The eyes on the wall kept looking at him. His heart was beating fast. He grabbed books and toys and piled them higher. Arlo had done it. The drawing could not be seen behind the towering pile of toys. Just then, he heard his mom coming up the stairs. He scrambled under the bed. "Arlo," his mom said, "where are you?" Arlo kept quiet. His mom sat down on the bed. All at once, the tower came tumbling down. "Arlo," she said, "come out here." Arlo crawled out from under the bed, but he covered his eyes. His mom picked him up and put him in her lap. "Arlo," she said, "did you color on the wall with a marker?" Arlo kept his hands over his eyes and shook his head. His mom pulled his hands away and looked him in the eyes. "Arlo," she said again, "did you color on the wall with a marker?" He looked back at her, and this time he told the truth. "Yes," he said in a voice that could barely be heard. "Did you cover it up?" Arlo took a deep breath. "Yes," he said, a little louder this time. "Arlo," she said, "you disobeyed when you colored on the wall. You also disobeyed when you got off your bed to get your toys." Arlo threw his arms around his mother. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry I disobeyed." Arlo's mother gave him a tight squeeze. "I forgive you, Arlo." "Am I going to get a punishment?" he asked without letting go. "Yes, you've lost your screen time for today and tomorrow." Arlo felt a little sad. He liked to watch a video while he ate his afternoon snack. But he couldn't feel too sad while his mom was hugging him. Then Arlo had a thought. He sat up and with a worried voice asked, "Will I always have this mess over my bed?" Arlo's mom smiled. "I thought I would get my super sponge out from under the sink and clean it off. Would you like that?" "Oh, yes," Arlo said. As they walked downstairs to get the sponge, Arlo's mom said, "You know, sometimes when I do something wrong, I want to hide." Surprised, Arlo asked, "You do? Who do you hide from?" "When I sin, I want to hide it from God. I don't want him to know about it, and I don't want to talk to him because he might find out." "That's silly," Arlo said. "God knows everything already." "I know," said his mom. "We can't hide our sins from God, and when we try, it only makes us unhappy." Arlo thought for a minute. "I was unhappy when I was hiding from you under the bed." "I know," said his mom, "and I knew that you would never be able to get the mess off the wall without my help. I'm glad you came out and told the truth. When we tell God the truth about our sin, He is ready and waiting to help us. That's why He sent His Son Jesus." Arlo looked at the clean wall. He threw his arms around his mom again. "Thank you for washing off my mess," he said. Cleaned up is much, much better than covered up. The end.
Now, just so you know, I liked that story so much, I bought a couple of the books, and we're going to have them here in our kids' library, and I hope you will take them out to read them, and I hope if you're not old enough to be reading, that your parents might check them out and bring it home and read it to you. But the message of the story is really important, that we all make mistakes, and we should all realize that when we make a mistake, there are people in the world that love us, who don't just want to punish us, they want to help us learn from our mistake, and they want to help us make up from our mistake. In my house, we always had a rule. If you did something wrong and you knew it, you could come and tell a parent. And if you came and told a parent and were honest, you didn't get in trouble. Now, you still had to help clean up the mess or fix what you broke. But we didn't want to punish people for being honest. And you know what? The same thing is true with our relationship with God. We do things that God doesn't like, but God still loves us, and God is willing to forgive us. We just have to be honest enough to admit to God, yeah, that we made a mistake and we did wrong. And seek his forgiveness, not try to hide from him. There are adults who have hidden from God all their life because they feel guilty, and that should never be us. So I hope you enjoyed the book. I hope you learned a little something from it. And I hope I'll see you again next week. Bye.